address and for setting the context for the day ahead. As technology continues to evolve, its impact on our world will only grow more profound. It is essential to harness the power of technology responsibly and ensure that its benefits are shared equitably across society. We now move into our very first session for the day on the title, Role of Technology in Shaping Tomorrow's World. We are honored and privileged to have with us this morning Sindhu Gangadharan. She is Managing Director and Senior Vice President of SAP Labs in India. Sindhu is responsible for product development and innovation at SAP's research and development facilities in India. And she'll be in conversation with Bhaskar Kumar Verma from NASSCOM. Please extend a very warm welcome to both Bhaskar and Sindhu. I'd like to invite them onto the stage.
Thank you, Justin. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's amazing, Sindhu. We are starting a conversation with you. And as Shrikant talked about, the theme of the event is Future Through Tech Lens. And I also believe one of the things which is also the strategic imperative of NASSCOM, which is innovation. So today you are wearing hat of SAP Labs and NASSCOM. So my first question for you is, how do you see ongoing technological innovation influencing the future landscape? And what role does continuous innovation play in shaping tomorrow's world?
Thank you, Bhaskar. And first of all, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here at NASTEC. And I fully agree with Shrikant. It's not easy that on Friday morning you're all here. It's a full house. So it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here. And to your question, Bhaskar, I mean, if you just look at what's happening and right here at this conference, right, the way you've shaped up everything in terms of leveraging technology to drive the event in a very sustainable manner, or if you look at how the registration process itself is, I mean, we all know after the event, you ask, hey, that picture which we took, send it to me. No, today's just taking, based on facial recognition, being able to very quickly send the pictures that were taken of yours to your WhatsApp. So that's kind of the power of what we are living in this age of technology. The possibilities are just fascinating, right? Be it in terms of how are we driving economic growth for our countries, be it in terms of how are we changing societal norms, how are we making sure that we really change the status quo in terms of any of spheres of our life, right? And if I just reflect a little bit, Bhaskar, right now, we are just a few weeks away from 2024. And if I just reflect back on 2023, I'm sure all of us in this room would agree that one of the biggest things that happened in 2023 was the evolution of generative AI, right? And literally, it's been a game changer, if you ask me, in terms of how it's revolutionizing the way businesses are run across industries, right? And if you just look at some of the use cases that we are seeing with generative AI, the beauty is that, I mean, it's just thrilling to see that we have literally just at the beginning of what's going to happen. I mean, in terms of development and deployment of the technology, we've just only scratched the surface. So we just, and not to forget, game-changing in terms of how boards work as well, right? If you know what I mean. But if you just think about Gen AI and the impact that it is even making on R&D organizations like us. I mean, today we are talking about being able to generate very efficient code, right? Being able to find new molecules, being able to look at some of the use cases where we have enterprise chatbots which are fully powered by enterprise data, right? So that's the kind of use cases that we are looking at. And also, if you just look at from the sheer economics of it, Bhaskar, I think it's fascinating to see how even in certain industries that you mentioned, be it retail or finance or be it in areas like wholesale, the kind of impact that it's having in terms of sheer productivity gains. I mean, we are talking about even in the ranges of 200 to 340 billion just purely from a value in terms of productivity. Or if you just look at McKinsey, they claim that every year, annually, with generative AI, we are going to have an impact on the economy which goes up to almost 4 trillion, right? So that's the scale of things that's happening. And now coming to the India context, Bhaskar, I mean, India is like literally on top of the game in terms of AI adoption as well. We're talking about 57% when we talk about AI adoption, right? And also just purely from the stats as well, we're number one when it comes to AI talent penetration, number one when it comes to AI skills availability. 16% of the world's AI talent is serving the world from here, right? Or even if you just look at research on AI, I mean, we are number 5 when it comes to AI research that's happening right here in India for the world. And you talked about, I mean, kind of how are we driving this forward? Today, if you just look at 70 of the top startups here, which are leveraging AI, and you clearly see that 1 out of 3 are already looking into areas of AI where it goes into very focused on code and code generation. And today, NASSCOM is partnering with, 26 out of these 70 startups and working very closely to really drive that forward for the country. And this is also backed up with the government as well, really putting a very strong focus on also making sure that we have everything in place that helps drive that kind of at scale. Look at the national AI framework that is in place, right? Or if you just look at the GPU cluster, or if you just look at how are we looking at modules that support the training and learning opportunities that is needed. And again, the government is very clear that this is going to totally scale up the $1 trillion digital economy targets that we have set for the country as well. So all in all, fascinating time in tech, and the possibilities are just outstanding, if you ask me.
Amazing. And I can tell you a little bit more about this conclave, and Sindhu also touched upon it. It's when we were designing, and somebody asked me, what is NASTEC? And I said, NASTEC is celebrating you guys. You guys are making a difference, and our IT industry is making a difference. You pick starting your day from ordering grocery to booking a cab. It's all because of you. Can we have a big round of applause for all of you? Sindhu, you talked about innovation, but it's very difficult if a leadership role and the way they are going to put the innovation culture in the organization. So picking on those lines, my next question is, how can we ensure that technological advancements are aligned with ethical principles? And what steps can industry leaders take to prioritize ethics in the development and deployment of new technologies?
No, it's a great question and a very valid question in these times, especially on one hand, we talked about the great use cases, but on the other hand, I mean, the pace at which technology is evolving, and particularly some of the new technologies, it's super important that we have the right set of guardrails in place, right? So that technology evolves in such a way that also the ethical principles are put into place right from the beginning. And this is very, very, very important, Bhaskar, because on one hand, like I said, you can talk about productivity gains and all of the nice use cases. But if you just look at the current state, the world is, I mean, what we were just talking, I mean, two wars raging in the world, which immediately also brings up all these aspects around, hey, technology can also help you create autonomous weaponry. It's happening as we speak, right? I mean, the wars that are being waged are totally driven by technology. Technologies like Gen AI particularly can also go into areas where, I mean, go into social media. Today, it's like you can completely manipulate how you present the status for an individual, right? You can completely malign things about a particular nation even, right? So it's very, very important that when we put things into place, how are we making sure that ethical principles are brought into the way we evolve these technologies? And particularly also in the whole area of generative AI, right? I mean, we all know it. A lot of what is coming out is solely dependent on the kind of data, the kind of insights that is being taught to these AI systems. So you really can put guardrails in place where AI systems are taught to differentiate between the good and the bad. And I think it's super important for all of us in the industry to take this front and center in terms of how are we putting these principles into place before we start rolling out these use cases at scale. And I mean, today you know that AI systems can be really trained. Things, areas like reinforcement learning, where just like how you teach our little kids about value system on what is right, you reward them when they do something in the right way, or you punish them when you don't do things in the right way. Similarly, AI systems can be trained to be able to be rewarded when it's leveraging ethical principles, and punished when it's not leveraging ethical principles. Or you can use methods where AI systems are trained based on data, how humans behave, right? So that you train your models in such a way, how would a human kind of derive based on moral values? And this is also very important. And if I just put on my SAP hat for a bit, Bhaskar, already since 2018, we've had what we call as the AI Ethics Steering Board at SAP. And actually, all of you are welcome. You can go onto the internet and search for the SAP AI Ethics Policy, which you can download. And I think we all need to share this, right? Each one of you might have your blueprints as well. And so we really need to, what we did is put this steering board into place where every use case that we go, because, I mean, given that the world's largest businesses run on SAP, for us, what is very important is the trust that our customers place on us, right? So very importantly, every use case where we are leveraging AI, or now with Gen AI as well, we go through this steering board where a couple of things, like, is there always a possibility for transparency? Is there always a possibility to have a human in the loop? Is there always a possibility to be able to very carve out those decision points based on specific customers' insights? All of this, right, is put into practice. And the steering board is not just people from SAP, just to be very clear, right? It's people from the academia, people from other industry players coming together, people from looking at these areas of ethics very carefully. And I think very similarly, we at NASSCOM are driving this as well to really have a framework in place so that all of us put this responsible usage of technology front and center, especially given all the things that's happening around us. I think as leaders, this is our absolute important priority to take this with the focus that it needs. No?
No, fantastic points. We talked about innovations, and though we talked about leadership, we talked about ethical practices. My next question is more towards which creates the base of our industry, skills, and we all are talking about it. So picking that point, what specific skills and competencies do you believe will be crucial for individuals to be efficient in the workplace? Is there a need to overhaul the current educational system to prepare people for the technological demands for tomorrow? And I know from NASSCOM, from SAP, we are working very closely with the government, but your thoughts on that, please.
No, I think it's, again, a very pertinent question and need of the hour when we look at overall skilling. I think it's a big topic, I'm sure, for all of us in the industry. But also your question on the education system, both of this go hand in hand pretty much, right? But just staying with the topic of skilling and reskilling, I think what we're all observing is that any skill that we have learned, right? I mean, today the time span of that skill being in play, today that time span is significantly reducing. I always talk about having core skills which are repeatable no matter in which role or which, so repeatable skills is very important. Like, how do you look at problem solving itself? I mean, that's a skill that you can take to any context, right? But if you just look at technology itself, Bhaskar, I think that time window is significantly reducing. What's in the past, in the last decade, which held solid for about 5 to 6 years, today is just like 2 years, right? That's kind of how skills are changing. So I think one fundamental thing is having this mindset of continuous learning. I think that's nothing new to any of us in this room. Literally every day we have to really look at You learn, like today you were talking about the sustainability measures you're putting into place. I think each one of us can take back a lot of that learnings, right, and put it into our own context. But also if I just look at how can we scale out this skilling and reskilling, the only way to do it is through partnerships. Very strong partnerships between the industry, between the academia, between people who really drive forward these topics becomes super important. Like I'll just take you again an example where we're working with the likes of Triple ITB or IIM Bangalore or Kellogg School of Product Management, because we strongly believe product management skills, AI skills, like if I look at the AI for Managers program that we have, which IIM Bangalore offers, we actually have folks who go through those cohorts, spend 16 long months, and this is on top of their day job, right? Where they're going, understanding the basics of data science foundation. How do you look at data preparation? How do you look at data visualization? How do you look at storytelling? Again, a very important element of how do you take those insights from that data and really reflect upon what the needs of the business is? Predictive analytics. How do you look at machine learning programming with R? How do you look at machine learning programming with Python, right? But the most interesting part of the whole curriculum, believe it or not, Bhaskar, is how are we applying all of these learnings in the context of real life business problems? And I think that is key, and that's why this collaboration between the government, with the industry, with the academia is super important, because it's not just about the theoretical learning of all this. How do you apply that in the context of real life business problems? That's the real piece, right? So that I think, also if I just look at NASSCOM's Future Skills Prime, where we're bringing in the learnings for each one, bringing our learnings from the industry there in one central platform for everybody to take, benefit, get credits as well, right? So for students, this becomes so easy now. Hey, how do I get myself certified on the business technology platform or on any of the platforms out there? Very quickly on NASSCOM Future Skills Prime. But I want to still come back to your question on the educational system, right? And honestly, if I just look at my own kids, right, post-COVID, I mean, they had, 1.5 years almost of learning from home during the pandemic. I'm sure everybody agrees to that. And this whole thing of e-learning and learning virtually has already set into the young minds, right? It's not just about that classroom, what they go to. That kind of thought process has already changed. But at the same time, I think very early on, these minds need to be brought into, again, real life usage of those principles, what they learn in the school. And today, kids are doing that. But we just need to foster that even more. And very quickly also get them acquainted with things like startup accelerator programs. I mean, I'm always thrilled when I hear things like there's a 16-year-old young Indian girl in Florida who went out there and started her own Gen AI startup, 12.ai, right? And today, it's almost close to 100 crores in valuation with just 10 people in the team. So that's phenomenal, right? So again, to summarize, I really think we have to relook at the way we deal with education for young minds, because they are really way ahead. So we really need to capture that energy and drive that in the right way, giving them also real life business problems where they can understand the application of a lot of the theory that they learn in schools. No,
absolutely. I completely agree with you. One of the questions completely based on my experience, what I have, and this has happened 2 days back when I was in Chennai in NASTEC. And one of the women leader, and I will not restrict it to a women leader, but a leader, she came to me and she was talking about you. She said, when I look as a leader, my inspiration is Sindhu Gangadharan. So your thoughts on, or any secret sauce you think to become a successful leader, if you can share with the audience, that would be helpful for them.
I think finding the joy in what you do is key, right? No matter what it is that you choose to do. I truly believe in if you find the joy in what you do, you can do anything, right? And sometimes people come and set these artificial kind of blockers in your head about, hey, what is possible and what's not. I'd say you just do your thing. And when you do your thing with the joy and the drive and with the larger purpose of the things you can drive forward, not just for your individual organizations or for yourself, but for the larger communities, for the nation, for the larger context that you operate in. I think that's what keeps you going, right? Not these boxes that you put yourselves into and the titles and all of that. And then that spirit of learning, Bhaskar, is something that keeps me at least going, and I know that's the case for a lot of you. So don't put those artificial blinders, I'd say.
Absolutely. With that, thank you very much, Sindhu, for sharing your thoughts. And it's absolutely amazing. I hope you all have enjoyed. Can we have a big round of applause for Sindhu? Back to you, Justin.
I'd like to thank both Sindhu and Bhaskar for that very interesting conversation. I'd like to request Bhaskar to please present a small token of our appreciation to Sindhu.
One more surprise for SAP and Sindhu and SAP as an organization. Being a co-chair for NASSCOM, we would like to also thank Sindhu for doing that, wearing second hat. So can I also request SAP team, Justin and Veena, to come on the stage? And Shrikant, if you can join, please.